Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Tales from the Cabin. I'm your host, Joey Leone. And before I get started tonight, I just want to thank everyone for the views and the likes and the comments and the personal messages that I've received about the podcast. And I'm glad you're all enjoying it. I'm enjoying doing it, and I'm just getting my feet wet. So it's going to be a lot of fun we're going to have together. And tonight's little story is about the funny predicaments that you get into when you're a musician and you're playing gigs. And back in the late 80s, my band Chop Shop was a very successful band, and we just had come back from a tour of Japan. And we had a second one booked, and because of some personal reasons, I was not able to do the second tour. And I really needed to make some money, so I don't remember how it happened, but I ended up getting a gig with a country band. And it was a 2-guitar band, and it was a 4-piece band, and it was out in Long Island. And the band leader was a really, really successful band leader. I mean, he had lots of great gigs. Before I had joined the group, he had opened up for Willie Nelson at Madison Square Garden. I mean, that's a real opener right there. He was a kind of a quirky guy, but he had a lot of gigs. And because he had a lot of gigs, he made good money, and he hired the best musicians. And there was a great long line of guitar players that had played with him that were really excellent guitar players. I don't remember, like I said, I don't remember how I got the gig, but he liked my playing. He liked the R&B and blues kind of, vibe with his country band. And there was another guitar player who was just a spectacular guitar player who could play a lot of different styles. His name was Karen Tolhurst. He was an Australian cat who had a very successful band in Australia called the Dingoes. And actually, he was instrumental in getting Midnight Oil signed. And he was really successful, but he had moved to the United States. He met a young lady here who was going to NYU Film School, I believe. And so he moved to New York City, and he wanted a gig. So that's how I ended up teaming up with him. Great guitar player, and great guy, too. And I'll tell you a quick, funny little story about Karen. We were on our way to a gig, and I picked him up. He was living in Alphabet City, believe it or not, in Lower Manhattan. Pretty rough area at the time. And I told him I'd pick him up. So I went to his apartment and grabbed his amp and his guitar. And as we're coming outside, walking down the steps, there's a homeless guy taking a dump right in front of his house. And I look up at him, and I go, "You left Australia for this?" He had a good laugh, and he said, "Yeah, that's what love will do for you." But he, from what I understood, he owned like a tremendously big ranch in Australia and came here and was getting gigs. So, like I said, the band leader was a really successful guy. He was kind of funny. He sang everything down like keys from the original keys. He kind of sang everything low like Johnny Cash. But like I said, he was really successful. And at that time, the late 80s and early 90s, country music was really starting to take off with that line dancing business. And we had a lot of gigs at a lot of bars. And, we were working like 3-4 nights a week, making good money. And a lot of those people that were dancing in the line dancing days in the late 80s, they were people who were like disco dancing in the 70s. And then for like a while, they had nothing to do. They had no place to go dance. And then this line dancing happened. So the places were always well attended, and I learned a lot of really good country songs playing with this guy. And, the week before, he'd give us our itinerary of gigs and where they were going to be. And I actually got my good friend Rob Raccabuto, a great drummer. He was a young guy at the time, but he's still playing out there right now, a dear friend, the drum chair in the band. So we had a Sunday afternoon gig, and me and Rob drove out to this place in New Jersey. I don't know where it was. I don't remember exactly, but it was somewhere in the most rural part of like northern New Jersey, like right near Pennsylvania. And, in those days there was no GPS. So, we had directions on a piece of paper. and we're trying to make sense out of it. And, one thing about me, I always leave like 3 hours early for a gig because I never been late for a gig in my life. So we had plenty of time, but man, we can't find the place. We're driving in circles. And finally we see a sign that says friends meeting 7 p.m. So I said, well, that's got to be it, or it's got to be, close to being it. So we followed a sign and we're driving through the forest. It's just unbelievable. And we get to this place and it's a bar and it's outdoors and there's a lot of like biker dudes there and bikers and guys in pickup trucks and it was a bar, but it was like an open air bar almost. So like, we started bringing the equipment in. Behind the stage, they had like openings in the slats of the wood so you could see outside. And interestingly enough, they had a nice logistical setup here. Right behind the stage, about 8 to 10 feet behind the stage, they had a shooting range. So people were, as we're bringing the equipment in, there's like guys, bow, bow, bing, boom, 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 guys shooting guns. Maybe 6, 8, 10 guys at a time shooting guns. And it was a little disconcerting, to say the least, we're bringing in the equipment. And the guy that run the place, he comes by and he's like, hey, guys, set up over here. And, here's where the electric is. And we're like, yeah, okay. And he, once we're setting up, he comes over again. He goes, you guys are playing all country music, right? Yeah, oh, yeah, all country music, yep. And he says, well, just one thing I request from all the bands, start off with God Bless America and end with God Bless America. And I said, okay, that's not a problem. This is a professional band. And so we start to play. And there was all guys in the place. There's not one woman in the place except the woman that I brought, which was my ex-wife, who would come along to watch 3.5 hours of country music. And she's sitting at a table, and she's the only woman in the place. So as I'm playing, and the rounds are going off behind us, but boom, beep, pow, boom, boom, pow. I'm just, after a while, getting kind of used to it, And the band's playing kind of loud, but gunfire is gunfire. And as we're playing, I'm noticing that my ex-wife, she's sitting there drinking a Pepsi. She wasn't a drinker, so she's sitting there drinking a Pepsi, and guys are coming over and talking to her, and it was all very casual, and, it was nice, and they weren't being, aggressive or anything like that, and, she was smiling and, being nice, and they walk away, and the other guy would come over and talk to her, and this or that, and meanwhile, I'm playing, and so we go to take our first break, and the people seem to be digging the music, so I go over to my ex, and I said, how you doing, you okay? She goes, oh, yeah, fine, everybody's been cool. I said, yeah, we got a lot of guys. She said, yeah, some guys come over asking me to dance, I said, I noticed that a couple of the guys, like, took their wallets out. Like, she says, oh, yeah. She said, is that when they would come over to talk to you, they would show you their ID from work to show you that they had a job. Like, yeah, here's my ID. I work in the factory in town here. I thought that was pretty interesting. I never saw that as a pickup line before for guys, showing a girl their work IDs. So we finish, we're playing and we play another set, and everybody's now, thank God the shooting outside, as it started to get darker, started to cease. But we're playing, and we're doing two songs. Like I said, he knew a lot of really good old country songs, and these guys were eating it up. And the great thing about this band was that, it was unlimited soloing. I mean, me and the other guitar player, we would take like 2 solos, 2 choruses each, every song. And man, it was, the best, getting paid to learn. Plus I'm listening to this other guitar player who really is an accomplished guitar player. And I'm hanging in there with my little blues and R&B. So we finish playing Do God Bless America. And we start packing up. And the guy, the other thing was weird was that as I'm playing, I'm noticing something, like there's a weird vibe in the place. And I look, and there's a sign like right on the side of the bar of the SS. There was like an SS sign, like the Nazi sign. And then I'm looking, and there's a SWAT sticker like on the other side of the bar. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. Well, it turns out that the place was run by and frequented by the Ku Klux Klan. This was a Ku Klux Klan like private bar, the Friends meeting. I guess that's what that meant. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is kind of strange. I've never done this before. So anyway, as I said, we start packing up, and the guy who I guess is the grand high exalted mystic ruler of the place had been eyeing me kind of funny during the gig, like looking at me kind of funny. Like I'd catch him looking at me because I'm playing the guitar, but I'm checking out the whole joint, while I'm playing like I always do. And he's giving me funny looks. I'm saying, why is he looking at me funny? Why don't he look at the Australian guy funny? Why me? Anyway, so at the end, he comes over and he goes, hey, you guys are really good. And, everybody like you. I think we're definitely going to have you guys back. Not that I would have gone back. And Raccabuto's looking at me. I'm looking at him. And the band leader was, okay, thank you, And the guy comes over with the envelope full of money. And it was a nice paying gig. I guess you had to pay good money to go up there. And then the guy kind of makes his way over to me and he goes, you're not much of a country player, are you? I said, well, no, I'm kind of like a rock and roll guy, blues, R&B. He goes, oh, yeah, I heard the blues, definitely. He goes, I just want to let you know, we don't like much of that N-word music here. And I was like, oh. I'm looking around the place, and I'm not going to say anything to the guy because I did want to leave. So anyway, I guess it wasn't too bad because he did want us back. So anyway, so we're getting ready to leave, and we pack up the equipment and got back in the van, got my wife and got Rob Raccabuto, and we got out of there as soon as we could. And obviously we never went back. But that's the story about the time that I played for the Ku Klux Klan. I hope you enjoyed this little ditty from Joey Leone's musical history, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Peace.